I don't know what it is about rhythm games, but there's something about them that is just a delight. And so today we're going to be listening to a ton of tracks from rhythm games, talking about them, stopping and starting as we go, and just enjoying video game music from rhythm games. First up today is Cytus 2, one of the coolest rhythm game tracks I've ever heard. It's a doozy and really, really, really fun. So, you know, I don't want to stop too much during the tracks, but the one thing that I have to talk about when this comes up is just the adrenaline pump. And I think that that's something that's very common throughout all rhythm games to a degree, is the sense that like hitting the cues at the right time is such an incredibly satisfying experience for musicians and non-musicians alike. I think like there's something so incredibly satisfying and empowering about hearing a song like this and immediately diving in and being like trying to hit every single one of those beats as they get close to you. I don't know what the official title is for those bars that show up, by the way. There's such a satisfying feeling of connecting with music in this way. And I think that that's partly why rhythm games are successful. It's an incredibly empowering feeling to connect to music in a tangible way where you're hitting and interacting with the music in the same moment as you're hearing it. And I think here the mixture of this organic sound with the EDM sound really pairs beautifully. This is such a virtuosic piano piece, actually. If you were to hear this in a symphony hall, you'd be like, oh my god. And then you throw on this fantastic electronic beat to it, and it's just like madness, you know? And then you get taiko drums in there too, just fueling that intensity. This muffled organ is so satisfying. There's such an expression of like hidden veiled danger in that sound. The way that it, see how it like shifts into gorgeous chorus in there now. The horns over top. This incredible reset here. Gorgeous melody. It's such a human sound here. To then fade away with just the piano after all that journey. Is fantastic. Cytus 2 is such a terrific piece of music because I think it takes us on an emotional journey. Now, obviously, not every rhythm game has story elements and things that we can connect to, but what I love about rhythm games themselves is that we're really stripping away any of the veneer of all the stuff that we tend to get in video games, like the story and plot and all the like intricacies of that, and what we actually are confronted with. Now, of course, there is plot in Cytus and in Deemo and others on this list, but predominantly, though, what we're really left with is music. And I think that really speaks to the idea that music is such an incredibly cathartic, interesting, and empowering thing that we can listen to that allows us to connect not only to the context of the video game, but also to our own personal lives and our own personal contexts. And Cytus 2 here really feels like it's pushing us to reflect on not only the story that's going on, but also on our own personal stories. What's really cool about rhythm games is that we're so interconnected with the music. And I think this is an experience that we don't necessarily get unless we're actually playing an instrument in some cases, but we end up merging with the music itself, and almost like we are facilitating the music, unless you're talking about a game like Everhood, where you're actively avoiding the beats and the music. It's an interesting spin on a rhythm game concept. In this particular case, it really feels like the organ is an expression of agitation and anger, of almost a defiance. The virtuosic piano feels like trying to uphold morals and standards and responsibilities and what have you, and the EDM and the incredible and propulsive rhythm there symbolizes duty and responsibility and commitment and forward movement, and all of these things coalesce together to create this wonderfully dense and rewarding piece of music that is so fun to listen to. It's a terrific piece of music. A game that we wouldn't necessarily call a rhythm game until the very last boss would be Drakengard III. And if you ask any Drakengard player, they're going to tell you it gives them nightmares because of how hard Black Song, White Scales' final song is. I listened to this one other time and it threw me for a loop, so we're going to be diving back in. Every Drakengard 3 player right now is screaming the bells. The bells, the bells. This is a reprise of Kuroi Uta. We shift into the different intoner sections here. Picking up in tempo as we're shifting again. Love the percussion here, especially mixed in with the melodic pattern of the singing. Shifting in rhythm again as we move through each phase of each boss. And it doesn't matter how fast or how rhythmic this goes, we still have anguish and sadness in the lyrics and in the vocals here. And it feels like... Shift. It feels like fighting against something. And I find the contrast between the lyrics that we're seeing and the percussion so interesting. Shift again. Now we have piano predominant. There's an internal struggle here because of the way that we're combining these two elements of percussion and florid, very legato singing. Especially with the vocals here over top. Another shift. Back into Kuroi Uta. I love when we recontextualize songs that we've already heard before with different structures. And then the slowing down here is incredible. Hilariously, it's kind of a troll experience when you're actually doing it in game. Slowing down tempo like this is such a jerk move in the context of the game. But look at how the voice sort of almost dies out as we slow down in tempo. Leaving us with just the celeste-like instrument. And all that space leaves us with a feeling of death, doesn't it? It's very bold to have all this open air between the notes playing. Repeating that melody we've already heard in the vocals. You can feel the breath. The fact that that's a rhythm game element and it's very easy to ruin and you have to start over because you miss one thing. It's a bold move to create a piece like that and put it at the very end of a video game and also have it be like truly rhythmic. It has fantastic layering. It connects us to a thing that we've heard before in this game. And more than that, it moves through different phases, much like a symphony would. We have different tempos. We have different emotional stakes. We have different contexts. We have different structure in each piece. It's an incredible work of art and one of the most amazing things about video game music, and we're listening to rhythm game music in this particular episode, is that all of these pieces are fantastically legitimate pieces of music. And anyone who would shame you for listening to video game music is wrong. The final song from Drakengard III, when I first heard it, I was really thrown off by it, but in actuality, it's a profoundly moving piece. Now, I probably would hate this song if I played it in context because it's cruel. I actually want to pivot to something really interesting, and I want to pivot to Baka Mitai. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, Marco, this is supposed to be a rhythm game episode, but I did want to highlight a couple examples of games that use rhythm games, gamey minigame qualities that I think are really like exceptional. And Baka Mitai, I think it would be very easy to dismiss. The beautiful thing about Yakuza, based on the Yakuza Kiwami that I played, if you immerse yourself in that world in that time period in that story, everything you do in Yakuza feels legitimate. First of all, Baka Mitai is actually like a really good song. But then on top of that, if you think about the context in Kiryu's like life and his thought process in the moment, while going in and singing Baka Mitai, it's fun because it's almost like this like 4D chess that you're playing mentally, because it's like, well, what is Kiryu? Why would Kiryu want to sing Baka Mitai? Is it just a mini game, or is it much more than that? And I find that is really fun. So let's listen to Baka Mitai from Yakuza. バカみたい子供なのね夢を追って傷ついて嘘が下手なくせに笑えない笑顔を見せた I love you no ろくに言われ口めかねほんまに不器用なのにどうしてさよなら言えたのダメダメダメよダメダメよ好きすぎてどれどれ強いがででも歪まない思い出がバカみたい So here's the thing, I mean, I won't stop yet. In all seriousness, and I'm sorry for Yakuza fans for pausing there, but I know that this song is memed to hell at this point, but it's a legitimate song. I've been a fool and you've been childish. You fell down, you got hurt, chasing sweeter dreams, never could hide the truth in your eyes. That's how I knew that smile was a lie. I love you is something you never say, couldn't get it out, always just pulled away. So then why, please won't you tell me why you could find the words to say goodbye? I'm such a mess, I'm lost, I'm no good at this, I'm in love, still in love with you. Hard as I try, I can't even drink this pain away. Memories of you twisting my view, I've been a fool. So what I find amazing is that here we are, we're playing Yakuza 0 or Yakuza whatever. We enter into the karaoke bar and we're faced with a rhythm game. Not only that, but if you actually take the time to look at the lyrics, you actually discover like a really poignant song about like love and love lost and unrequited love. And the thing is that this is stupid, but unrequited love is a concept that has been written about and composed for, and poets have written poetry about it for hundreds of years. I find it kind of funny that here we have a rhythm game that features an incredibly deep and thoughtful song. And on top of that, it also highlights a connection to the character themselves in the game. But then out of the game, it also is like a delightfully pleasant and beautiful piece of music to listen to. And sorry, Yakuza fans, for only playing a verse. I'll do a cover and I'll do every verse for you as an apology. One of the things that people might not necessarily know about when we're talking about rhythm games on the whole is that rhythm comes easier or less easy for people depending on what the instrument is. And so for singers, as a prime example, and why the joke is that singers have terrible rhythm, is because singing is all about legato. Legato means connecting all of the notes together with fluidity. And one of the things that gets really difficult is that while you're singing, you're thinking about your breath and you're thinking about each individual note and sliding up and going down the scale and doing whatever the music tells you to do. Whereas percussionists, it's all rhythm. You know what I mean? Or pianists. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a really fun and challenging game because it's really hard to stay consistent, especially when we're talking about bouncing and moving to the beat. And Disco Descent 1-1 is an amazing track. I love the riff. Whoa, oh, oh, oh. Love this little melodic line here. So that's terrific. That's such a terrific little corner because that's where we actually get a little bit of the danger. It's interesting because the first half of this piece, and it's a 3-minute piece, right? But the first half of it is all about like setting the pace. It does a great job. Disco Descent is the only track I know from Crypt of the Necrodancer because I've literally never made it past Disco Descent 1-1. And so terrifically, what ends up happening when the melody comes in, this whole section here that happens to be the most replayed, that's where the danger comes in. Because we're literally in a crypt. I mean, we're fighting against these blobs and these skeletons and what have you, and that's where the danger strikes. But we need a minute to set up the tempo. And I find that this is really interesting because the question becomes like, how hard is it to write rhythm game music? And the question is valid because I think it's probably quite difficult. Obviously, there's a gameplay mechanic that connects to the music, so maybe that takes a little bit of the difficulty out. But like overall, it's really challenging to sync up all these different factors. And I bet you what ends up happening is, and I'd love to talk to Danny actually about this, is that chances are what ends up happening is the music is made first with enough of a lead in so that the player can get used to it. There's obviously a lot of back and forth that has to occur. And then the gameplay is added on top of that to sync up with that. And I also think like it's such a celebration of music. Before we leave Crypt of the Necrodancer, we can't do this without listening to the shop theme. And the fact that this becomes diegetic in the sense that we actually hear it in game. We hear it in game with the shopkeeper. This piece becomes a diegetic piece. It's so cool. That's very high, by the way. So fun. Love the riff here too. And then we take it and we mix it in with this electric guitar over top. And again, there's a little bit more danger there, right? Yeah, Crypt of the Necrodancer is terrific, and I love the sense that the fact that we get a little bit of stress in there too, and the shopkeeper is really fun because again it takes something that we've already heard, modifies it slightly, and we get this diegetic piece of music that exists within the game, and it feels like it's sort of like a parody of itself, whereas like it breaks. When I say that, I mean it breaks the fourth wall. You know, you're face to face with the music, and you're hearing the music in game. I mean, it's like it's a delight. And so naturally, next up is Gerudo Desert Combat from Cadance of Hyrule, the Legend of Zelda version of this. And I don't think I've heard this. I may have, but I'm excited to listen to it. Really nice ostinato under there. And look at how the guitar is driving that forward. A little bit of stuff in the upper register, but that's really subtle the way it went. Oh, it's Gerudo. Oh, that's cool. Wow, that's terrific. It's so cool to hear the melody in the lower section of this with the electric guitar over top. Nice unison movement there. And then here we get this like sort of like middle section with the harp playing in there. Sort of muted trumpet sound especially. Da 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 ya ba da da da. It's incredible how we can recontextualize a piece of music and it can create a different sense. Like the Gerudo Valley theme as is already such a delight, right? Like there's nothing about that isn't delectable. It's delightful. It's a joy to listen to, right? So much fun, loving that Spanish sort of flamenco sort of whatever vibe to it, right? But then you take that and you add electric guitar and you mix and match with the horns and you add all these different elements and it creates a different soundscape. It creates a more tense soundscape. It's interesting too how music within itself can create multiple different feelings, right? So like this one, the original Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time has a more debonair sound to it, a more swashbuckly, a more confident sound, whereas the other one is a little bit more dangerous. And I think part of that's because the electric guitar dials it up, and there's a bunch of little things like that create that sense of stress, right? And that's really fun and really satisfying to listen to. It's amazing to me how music recontextualized with different instrument choices can actually seismically change the way that the piece feels. And I think that that's something that like we don't necessarily think about when we think about music, is that like everything can change. We can keep the same rhythm. We can modify it ever so slightly. We can change a little bit of the melody, but if we retain the same structure but change everything around it, it sounds different. Yeah, I think that both of these examples are great examples of like the strengths of rhythm games, and also I think also how diverse rhythm games can be. You know, I mean, I grew up in a time when Guitar Hero had just come out, and that was like the first rhythm game that I think a lot of people in my generation played. It was a sensation. It was at every single party in college. I also went to a music school, so of course. But point is that like that was the first iteration, and that was as simple as it got. It was just hitting the notes to popular music that we all loved. And now look at how far, 15-ish years later, how much variety there is. All right, let's move over to Deemo 2. This is Music of Life, Nourish. Wow. So what's really incredible about this is how orchestral this is. This is a completely valid piece of work that you could literally hear in a symphony hall. What I find interesting is that here's a game that's on mobile that is, easily playable, that is introducing people to something that they may then go and say, oh, I would love to go and sit down in a symphony hall and check this out. Like, that's mind-blowing. And it may not sound like Deemo 2 Music of Life Nourish, but the fact of the matter is that this is a gateway drug to classical music. And they may never go to the symphony, but as long as they've had an emotional and musical experience with classical music, that's exciting. And here, like, you can automatically hear the tension built up. I know that there's a ton of story in Deemo 2 and in Deemo itself, and we'll get to Deemo 1 later in this episode, but what I find really special about this is how tense it feels. I can only imagine what this looks like with the charts and with the notes coming at you. Wow. That's huge. Oh, wait, the way the piano takes over here is really interesting. Oh my god! The bassoons! Oh my gosh. I have to talk about how cool that is. There's a little emotional thing that happens here that's really interesting, especially when we look at the way that the music is, hear the way the music is written. There's a wonderful crescendi that happened. Very subtle call and response. Then we come together and it swells into this huge volcanic eruption of sound there as everything sort of coalesces. It's also interesting because the piece first started with a bit of a horn dominating thing while also having the strings sort of, it's funny because usually strings in an orchestral piece like this, strings are the thing that ends up being most present. But in this particular case, we actually start with the horns, and the strings act as accents to the horns, which I find really fascinating. This entire time, it's not really been a lot of push and pull between characterization. It's really been a theme about theme for the boss, rather than being a piece that is about triumph or success. Where I stopped is with the first part, where we start to get a little bit of like a possibility of triumph. And I think that's also something that's really important, is that oftentimes in music, we have to consider the emotional response that we're having to a piece. And we may know context based on what the game is about and what's happening in the scene, but also like the way that the way the music goes, it can guide us in which direction we should be pointing towards, whether we're being pointed towards the boss, pointed towards us as characters and us as players, or pointed towards the situation at hand. There are other variables, of course, but that's the thing that's really sticking out to me about this, is that this is really about like the stress of battle, right? A lot of unison movement here. See, and this is where it shifts. So what we do is we flip, and now there's this emotional feeling of the strings connecting and in unison movement. That's where we feel the impetus of being like, this is for us. We have a chance to really do something here. Right? That's such an intense feeling of like coming together, of rejoining the emotional stakes and saying, okay, I can do this, right? But around that, before that, certainly, that's been all about the boss and or this character, and feeling like there's adversity at hand. Whereas now we've got this really melodic section, which is really guiding us towards a new possibility, right? We actually pull back there, interestingly enough. Now we're back into the tension of it. Nice trills there. See, horns again. Wow. I can't believe this isn't a video game. And a rhythm game of all things. I want to stop really quick too and say that structurally, this actually is very close to something like a piano concerto. This is, oh my God, if you've never heard this before, I'm sorry that I'm stopping a lot, but it's important, because if you've never heard something like this before, classical music is literally this. I mean, like piano concertos, Rachmaninoff piano concertos, you get some Franz Liszt like this, you get some Chopin like this. This is incredible stuff. This is rooted in the foundations of what classical music is. And if this excites you even a little bit, you owe it to yourself, if you want to explore classical music, because the sky is the limit, and this sound quality is like bringing me home. I'm sitting in a symphony hall listening to this. Like, this is such a valid piece of music, and it's a shame that we're relegating it to this beautiful tiny little pocket of a mobile rhythm game, where if we would just like, if we would just accept that this is a realistically important and powerful piece of music, and view it more as a tone poem, and a tone poem is a piece that was written like Strauss or Berlioz. These guys wrote these tone poems that are stories built around a classical music thing. There's no visuals on the stage. All we're getting is music, and we, the audience, are tasked with creating and imagining a landscape and a world based around the specific tone poem's musical structure. And it's an incredible thing, because this was 8 months ago. I can't even describe to you how exciting it is to hear something like this after spending a decade of my life pursuing an art form that most people view as dead. To connect to a piece of music like this is profoundly good. Wow, the descent here in that piano. Swell there. See how it shifted? Oh my God. Guys, you hear how it shifted all of a sudden? Now it's like euphoric. It's like inviting the world to us, rising up above the heavens. This is the moment that we are retaking power over this dire situation. It's a piano concerto. Goes lower and lower and lower. Oh, back up. Oh my god. Oh my god. Whoa. Whoa. Do you hear? Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you hear how the strings come in? Oh my god, that goes all over the place. Listen to this. Right there. The strings merge. There's the tension again. Subtle, but elegant. Wow. That is so extraordinary. That is such a special piece of music. And again, this is literally a game on your mobile phone that, like, you play on your iPad. Hearing something like that is just so validating for me after all these years of pursuing something that we had to work so hard in order to get people to just like be even remotely interested. Let's check out Grievous Lady. Nothing is but what is not from Arcaea. Oh, church bells. How cool. Whoa. A little bit of shifting into this like evil, dark aesthetic. Love this. Yeah, but very spooky, dangerous. What an incredible piece of music. Oh my god. I love this. I love this style of music. So much piano. What a delight. Oh my god. Yes! Oh my god! Holy shit! Not the organ. Da, 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 da. Some really nice harmony call and response there. Da, 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 da. This is oh my god, it's Bach right here. This is Bach. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this. And then we recap. So fantastic. We recap with the rain and the sort of terror of the harpsichord. What a delight. Holy shit. And a little bit of the chorus in the background. Sharp, 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 sharp. Oh my god. Oh my god, beautiful. Then we go into the violin with the harpsichord, yeah. It's classic, it's Baroque. Not the chorus. That blew my mind. That's astounding. Like, how do you even talk about that? This is called artcore, breakcore, or whatever. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think it's so deceptive the way it starts. It's what I would say is that actually got very I wouldn't say grating on the ears because it was a delight from start to finish. But what I would say is that after the third repeat of that, the bum 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 bum, I would have liked a little bit of a shift. It got very loud and very intense throughout the entire thing. That being said, this is a style of music that I've actually been looking for. So I'm really excited about learning about this new definition of what artcore is. I love electronic music. When you mix it, and it looks like artcore is a style of music combining electronic elements with classical writing, and breakcore, on the other hand, is a style of chopping drum beats. This style is generally called gothic hardcore. That's insane. This to me is like the ultimate blend of all the things that I love about classical music, but with a modern flair to it. And in terms of the stylings in this music, like all of this is very legitimate classical writing, which is actually mind-blowing. This is like taking something that's so archaic and old, Baroque music. I mean, how many people are listening to Baroque music? But then you take that and add this incredible fat beat, like really twisting it like almost like twisting a knife into like it's almost like cutting the genre up. And I find that that's what's really satisfying about it. It's like, again, I think I could have done it with it being a bit shorter. I think it was a little bit overwhelming on the ears after the last half, not rhythm game related, but that's why I like a piece like Tenebroso Sangue or anything that Keygen Church makes, because it takes something that I know and have heard for literally every day for 10 to 15 years and shifts it and changes it. I love that we start at the beginning, like beautiful piano. You don't really know where it's going to go. Then you bust out strings and harpsichord. And again, harpsichord is a delight. That's crazy. I'm really blown away by this. Speaking of staying within this classical music sphere, I want to check out Pump It Up. This is the Beethoven Piano Sonata number 8 in C minor, Opus 13 Pathétique, movement number 3. It's so cool because not only does it introduce people to actual classical music, but it modifies it so that it's really fun. And it modifies it so that it's really accessible to a modern audience. And again, that's the kind of discussion that we need to keep having about like what is video game music, like what's happening there. And I was talking with a colleague, how do we get people to leave their house and say, you know what, I'm going to go to the symphony hall? And I think honestly, this is one very legitimate. It seems like this is probably in an arcade, but the point is that like connecting people and bringing music to them so that they can then hear it and connect to it in a way that makes sense for them, and then go and see the like thing in the symphony hall is a wonderful way to bridge the gap. And people are always wondering this in the symphony. Classical music organizations want you to go to their halls to see them, but they also need to do a much better job of actually connecting to you to get you to go to those things. Whether that means classical music video games, whether that means rhythm games where we feature the best opera arias from whatever, put it in a rhythm game, all of a sudden, maybe 100,000 people play it, and then they're like, oh my God, I would love to hear Di Quella Lapida from Il Trovatore. It's just exciting. And so like a piece like that was delightful. It's delightful because it's Beethoven. Let's check out the main theme from Rhythm Thief. More harpsichord. Huh? Love these horns. Wow, it's so cool. You just jazz with harpsichord. It's like, how? Oh wait, this is that song. Oh, this is that song. Where have I heard that before? Some YouTuber. No. Ba 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 ba. Oh, Iron Pineapple. Listen to how that bass is cracking. Wow, I'd heard that during Iron Pineapple's intros for Iron Pineapple's videos, so there I didn't know that was actually from a thing, but now that I know, that's delightful. The thing that I am picking up on every single time I listen to a new one of these pieces is how diverse and how interesting and how creative this music is. Harpsichord with walking bass with fantastic big band swing trumpets in fantastic harmony. Oh, it's wonderful. You know, I posted the other day on BlueSky about how, like, I'm tired of video game music being a subgenre, a sub-niche of gaming. Like, gameplay is important, of course, but, like, music is so imperative to good storytelling. You know the amount of people that are like, well, I hate to inform you, but I mute my music. But, like, rhythm games, fundamentally, you can't, because you need to hear the rhythm in order, you need to hear it in order to play it. And I think I just need to be playing more rhythm games after listening to all of this. And we still have more to listen to, because this is the home of music in so many ways. Like, this is when music isn't in the background. Music is in the foreground. That's what makes rhythm games so delightful. Let's check out Stygia from Metal Hellsinger. Wow. Love that little accent there. Oh, it shifted. I love the danger in that. That sounds like Evanescence. It's the same singer? Love that delayed rhythm and the percussion there. And the guitar. Awesome harmony in the upper register, sort of driving home sense of forward momentum and drive. Love this rhythm. Love that. Da 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 da. It's so violent musically. And then it shifts. Call into your arms. I've been waiting for Shum, ba bum, ba bum. Interesting phase shift here. It's more desperate. You know how there are some pieces when you're listening to them and you're like, whoa, 6 minutes. Okay, that I can really feel that. Whereas that just flew by. Part of the reason for that is, of course, the rhythm. And we do get some interesting phase shifts. But what's delightful about it is the fact that we get that duplicity between the two voices, and being that they're sung by the same singer, we get that internal struggle, almost like that split person. It's like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde aspect to it. There's like, listen, there's the desperation in the more vocalic, regular version of it, where it's like, please hear me out. Like I'm trying to express myself to you. I'm trying to get you to understand why this matters. And then on the flip side, we get the screaming, more agitated, more desperate sound of like, listen to me, like much more dominant, much more forceful, obviously, right? And I think that that's incredible. It's such an amazing feat to be able to deliver this vocal style with so much bravado. And I'm always really impressed, more so to hear women do it, because it's the second time I've heard a woman sing in this style, and it's profoundly cool. The technique is really difficult, and to find the capability within oneself to produce this kind of sound is unnatural and really unique when it works, and this works incredibly well. I also really like the melody. So even though we have all this like jaggedness and this real like outpouring of agitation, frustration, anger, we do end up with a really decent melody line that we can repeat quite a bit every time we have that chorus come in. Let's check out Gyorogyoro's theme from Patapon. This is a very fun rhythm game that I've never played, but it was on the PSP. Obviously rhythmic forces here. Oh man, that's a vibe. Up, 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 oh, yep, oh, oh. Up, up, up. Down, down. Call and a response. That's so fun. Ba ba ba. Bum 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 bum. That's interesting to me because it's one part absolutely terrifying and one part absolutely fun. Terrific example of what we would describe as call and response, right? So the first half, obviously, so basically what you're doing is you're just alternating. And I think it's actually kind of scary because of the way that we have the unison sort of high-pitched, almost childlike sort of shouting. Obviously, it's very, very, very tribal. There's also such a terrific semblance of power that occurs in that, especially because of the percussive elements which we're playing. It feels like connecting with these Patapon, right? It feels like connecting to them in a almost like cosmic level. And I know that's reaching a little bit, but there's a sense in that music of really molding and merging with like an entity that is alien and that you don't necessarily trust per se. Like that's the quality that really exists in that. And also melodically, and there's a little bit of stuff that's occurring in the violins that also leads it to be quite unnerving. It's certainly not a bright, pleasant melody, and actually low-key kind of terrifying. Let's check out Freedom Dive from Parousia. Oh my god, that's... Oh, that was like being spun around very, 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 very fast. There's obviously a childlike wonder in that piece that really stood out to me. I think pretty much da da ya ba ba da 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 ba da ba 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 da da. It was very overwhelming. It's very jarring actually because it's so non-stop in that rhythmic intensity pretty much the entire time. There is melody there for sure, but it sort of smacks you in the face. Clearly melodically it feels very like childish and very kid-like and very warm and bright and joyful. But I mean, at 222 beats per minute, what else could it be? There was the piano that was wonderful. I wanted a little bit of a slowed down section so that we could like breathe and explore sort of the presence of melody which existed throughout this piece. And the melody ba da ya ba da 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 ba da ba da 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 da. And I think it's true that rhythm gaming definitely has that category of this slaps when I'm dissipating my keyboard along to it, but maybe not in standalone listening. But I do think that listening to this on its own is worth doing. Let's slow it down. Myosotis from Deemo 2, Deemo. Delight. I mean, it's really incredible how this stuff exists. And I think, furthermore, I think that this really highlights to me how incredibly satisfying and how interconnected all these different genres can be. It's just really, really, really impressive and really cool that we have this type of music that exists that allows us to like ingrain ourselves both in a classical world, but then also in an electronic world. And this to me is like the new frontier for, and I know obviously it's been done 8 years ago, this piece, but like there's so much more that we can do to mix and combine and explore the multi-genre aspects of this style of music. If people really like music and games, rhythm games are a natural home for music that is placing music at the forefront rather than at the background, which is something that has come up a lot in my conversations with non-gamers. They're like, well, I can't believe that someone composes all of this music that someone may not even pay attention to. And then you flip the script and you say, rhythm games say hello. Rhythm games are where music goes to be appreciated because we literally become one with that music. And to an extent, it's almost like we're playing that music and manifesting that music. And music is a boss. You're literally challenging music to a duel. There's a lot more rhythm game music that we do definitely have to listen to. Of course, this video did not feature No Straight Roads. It didn't feature Hi-Fi Rush. It didn't feature a lot of other games that I'm sure are extremely interesting, Rhythm Doctor and so on and so forth. But I hope that you've enjoyed listening to and talking about this music with me. This was a bit of a rhythm game primer, if you will. I certainly am going to be going to download Arcaea, whatever the hell it's called, and a few others of these to really sit down and finally play them. So if you like this, thanks a ton. Feel free to check out more of the videos on the channel. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.